Parapsychology Today, a program of investigation into the realms of the unknown. Suspend your mind for a moment and journey to a world beyond the five senses. Parapsychology Today is a program exploring ideas, theories, and concepts that have been around since ancient times. We'll journey to outer worlds and inner worlds. We'll look into such phenomena as past lives, UFOs, and hauntings. And we'll explore psychic ability as it relates to human potential. We do not intend to prove or persuade, but rather present theories and personal stories of ventures into the world of parapsychology. Whatever your beliefs, we hope this program will start you thinking about a reality beyond the five senses.
Hi, I'm your host, Pauline Nortness. Welcome to another edition of Parapsychology Today. We have an exciting new show for you today. In fact, this is something we've never done before. We have Zoom, but we have two people. So forgive me if they're going to have to help me because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But the first topic is really interesting. It's called The Science Behind Magical Thinking. And my guest is Cynthia Sue Larson, who's an author and a life coach, among a million other things. And we'll have her tell us about herself. And then also Jan Engels Smith, who is a shamanic practitioner or a shaman. She joins Cynthia because she's going to validate what she's saying, because these two ladies are brilliant and they're going to kind of validate each other. So Cynthia, welcome. Can you please tell us a little bit about your background? I mean, it's astounding, really.
Thank you, Pauline. Well, basically, I've got a physics degree from UC Berkeley. Then I've got an MBA degree, and I worked in the corporate world as a project manager for a number of years before having a Kundalini awakening, completely changing everything. And that was now decades ago. So it took me 5 years to process the Kundalini awakening, which felt like all this energy rushing through me.
How did that happen? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but oh my God, how did that happen?
I felt like I'd overslept. So in the spring of that year, so it happened kind of on the equinoxes. So the spring equinox, I was feeling like, man, I've overslept. I don't know what's happening, but I don't feel like I'm really all here. Something's missing, like there's a big thing missing. I need the rest of me. And then about 6 months later, my husband at the time went on a business trip. When he came back, he said he'd been looking at the ceiling and everything made sense. He had an epiphany. And that was just like a floodgate opened. It's like I've been waiting. Because when he made that little step, then it went crazy. I can't even, it's too hard.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. I mean, there's a lot more to your background, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just had to ask you.
Yeah, well, that's a big deal, actually. Mm-hmm. So I've had many of these life-changing, energetic, and consciousness experiences. That was one of the big ones. And so, but I think that was the kickoff for me to really switch gears and know for sure that I'm not going back to the corporate world, that I would instead be focusing on consciousness and working with it, with individuals and information, books. So I've been writing a lot of books about things like auras, the energy field around our body, and energy that we work with and we have mind-matter interaction with. So I have a book about reality shifts, and then I've got a book about quantum jumping. I've got lots of books. My new one is about the Mandela effect and its society. So I've been publishing a monthly newsletter for about 25 years. I'm the first president of the International Mandela Effect Conference, and I've been involved in physics and consciousness conferences, organizing them here in the Bay Area and traveling around the world, teaching and talking about these topics.
Now the folks know why my brain is fried. And now I want to introduce Jan Engels Smith. Mm-hmm. And Jan's a shaman, among other things. In fact, when I'm doing the research, I've known Jan for a while, but I didn't even know all these other things. Tell us about yourself, Jan.
Well, I also have a background first in science and then in psychology, and then I also had a spiritual awakening and changed my life. And
tell us about that.
Well, it's also a big story, like Cynthia Sue just tried to explain, but there was a being that appeared to me, an apparition, and told me that I was to learn the ways. And when I did decide to do that, my life completely changed around, and everything changed. And I met Cynthia because I had this incredible experience of a reality shift, of awareness of parallel reality. And after meeting her, I had so many questions answered in so many form. And so it's just a pleasure to be here and to hear what she has to say and to validate it, because she's coming across in a way that is different, but I think it's more important for people because it's got a science background to it. She understands that. And mine has been shamanic, and not everybody gets that, but we're speaking the same language if you take it apart and really listen to what we're saying.
For those people who don't know what shamanic is, can you explain that just briefly?
The word shaman means somebody who sees in the dark with their heart. That's a literal translation from a Siberian term. And so basically you take away your outer senses by closing your eyes or putting on a blindfold, listening to a sonic instrument, and you go into what we call a shamanic journey where you're relating and interrelating to the spirits. And so shaman is, in my view, does healings on people, always understanding that you are first and foremost a spirit having a human experience. And if you maintain and maintenance your spirit or your soul, you'll be healthy. And that's physically, mentally, emotionally. And so that's how I look at life.
So now we're going to talk about you two, like, if people will understand now, well, my mind is just, my brain is fried. Because you two are just amazing women. And I got to say, I'm so happy to have met you. You came into my life for a reason. Anyway, so our topic is the science behind magical thinking. So Cynthia, could you explain what you mean by that? You came up with this topic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as we were pointing out, I do have a background in science, but I've been a lifelong experiencer of mind-matter interaction. So without knowing that it's not possible, I was able to look at rain and think, when I was a young child, stop rain, and it would stop instantly. Start rain, it would start, stop, start, stop, start. And I ran to get my mom and like, can you come take a look at this? And then it didn't work. Oh my goodness. So I got, as I was growing up, I realized that my interaction with nature especially is very strong. It's very instantaneous. I really love what Jan is saying about the seeing with the heart, because to me, that's the important thing, is having a heartfelt connection, being with honesty and integrity and love. So when I'm looking at the science of magical thinking, it's first of all, magical thinking gets a bad rap in psychology. I think when I saw, like, oh my goodness, they're saying that there's a magical thinking phase that children go through. And I thought, well, wait a minute, that's not a phase. Hold on a second, that's real. That's real. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's hold on to and keep and preserve the fact that, like Jan just said, we are spirits having a physical existence. You know, this is what's really happening. And that's what I like to bring into physics experiments when I get to participate in them. I was recently participating in an experiment conducted by, devised by Dean Radin, the chief scientist at Institute of Noetic Sciences. And he had 50 interferometers that he built, which are basically little devices that you can influence. So I got involved with that. And that's where the topic today came from. I'm really recognizing that we have turned a corner on going from you can't study this because you can't study consciousness into, just in the last few years, I'm starting to see not just this one study that I participated in, where I was successfully able to influence what's happening inside a little device. It's the most sensitive device known to man. It's basically, to let it warm up, I'm sitting silently meditating next to it. If a truck drives by, it vibrates. So it's extremely sensitive. So once everything's stable, then I'm on cue, working with a little device on a computer system and changing the way the light is moving. And there were 50 of us showing that this absolutely works. And Dean had to split up into two groups. I didn't know that he was doing this. Meditators, they didn't have such a strong response. And what he called magicians, and that would be like shamans and people of the heart who know that we never lost the magical thinking phase, not a phase. We kept our childlike wonder. We keep that in order to be successful when we need to assist someone in finding their healing or to change something on a screen. And there are a number of scientific experiments coming out recently. One was just conducted in Canada showing everybody's capable of moving a cursor on the screen, even without a neural link chip. So it's built in, and the way they succeeded was shutting down something in the left side of the left hemisphere, frontal medial cortex, that is actively obstructing our natural ability to do these things. So I'm lifelong interested in the topic. Lots of science coming out right now. That's why I'm so passionate about it, Pauline. And I feel like we've never needed this more than we do right now.
You know, it sounds interesting because it sounds like both of you never lost that childhood ability. Now, we're all born with this, but I think things take it away from us, right? But they didn't take it away from you guys, thank God, right? I mean, can we change things that seem impossible? It sounds like we can. We just don't realize our abilities, right? Jan, do you want to explain that? I mean, we don't realize what talents we have, of what left brain, right brain. We're too much in the left brain. Is that correct? Can one of you address that?
Cynthia Sue does a beautiful job. I'm going to defer to her.
Okay, okay, Cynthia.
Okay. Yeah, well, yes. So the reason that there was a suspicion that to do some RTMS interference and create that brain lesion that they were doing with volunteers who signed up to have a temporary brain lesion induced, so that they then would shut down what was suspected to be the interference mechanism. So they're looking for mechanisms in science. That's often what happens. And I love your question, Pauline, about how did we not get shut down? I think that's very important. I think a lot of people just through socialization were told repeatedly, like, you can't know that. So they're trying to shut down our telepathy. It's already a little bit repressed. And then they're saying, you can't influence things with your thoughts. I know we can. Jan knows we can. And so, but they were trying to do that. What helped me when I was young was basically not losing connection with my, what you might call spirit guides. I could hear them quite clearly. So if I thought a question, they're giving me the answer. And that actually happened, I know, in part because I wanted to leave when I was quite young. I wanted to go back to being dead again. So what that did was it kind of got this little intervention with angels.
Why did you want to be dead again?
Oh, it's great. I mean, between lives is great. I love that. I love being pure spirit. There are some downsides. If I try to talk to people, it's kind of like they don't hear you. I get the attention of small children and animals, but everybody else is and nature spirits, of course, but pretty much everybody else would ignore me. So, but I love it. I love it because it feels good. It feels honest. The integrity, the love, there's such a clear connection. This is a challenging place to be, I'll be honest with you.
Have you been other places that you can remember?
Most of my the most recent past life, I checked out a dystopian future 500 years from now. And the other places are mostly not so corporeal, not quite so physical. So I'm more familiar with that. This is difficult. Speaking in words, listening, the whole thing is strange.
So this lifetime is kind of difficult for you?
Well, yes. To be honest, yes. So
but you're helping people. I noticed you're all over the internet. You know, you're all over, which is great. And you're helping people. You're doing so many different things, which is great.
Well, there's interest now. The telepathy tapes are taking off. That's a topic that I think people are really, I never knew it would be a normalized thing that people would be interested to hear, how children who are on the spectrum, as they say, are capable. Maybe they're not verbal, but they somehow are quite telepathic and they can instantly know what's going on outside of their physical senses.
Yeah, I've heard that. You mean children that have autism? Yeah. I've heard that. It's really sad. I mean, when we think of it in 3D terms, 3D reality, autism seems terrible, but I did hear that they are more elevated spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I say something here?
Yes, please.
I think for myself, I did lose the ability. You know, I was totally naturalized, if you want to use that, into the world that we live in, and struggled to get it back. I mean, it's taken a lot of effort on my part. And I think that that's the key, is that we all are born a particular way, born to communicate with the spirits telepathically. But after you reach a certain age, there is effort that's needed to regain that. You have to reprogram yourself, basically. I think that that's what Cynthia does so beautifully, and part of my work. And it is from the essence of love, knowing that you can communicate. Everything has an intelligence, and you can communicate with it. And it comes from a respect and a loving of, if you want to call it nature or people or whatever you want to communicate with, even if it's a rock or something, that that love or that respect that we hold helps open that door.
Yeah, I've heard that plants have feelings, and of course animals have feelings. I've heard that when somebody dies, the dog will just sit there, waiting for the master to come home. So there is that feeling thing between all living creatures, which is amazing. I don't know if I was born with any abilities, but I've had such an interest. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, I had a grandmother who was psychic, and Aunt could see dead people, but is it in my blood too?
That sounds like it, yes.
Yeah. But everybody I've interviewed has had experiences as children, and I can't remember any. So I don't know how I got into this.
Yeah, I could definitely see things scuttling around in my home, my childhood home, because my dad was an atheist and my mom was an agnostic. And I would go visit my grandmother, and her house was shining with light. And it's like, because she was deeply spiritual, one of the most spiritual people I've ever known. And so we just talk about love and God and angels.
That's great. Do you think the world as the universe as a whole, or not the universe, but our planet is elevating spiritually, or they say we're moving into a higher vibration? Do you believe that? And do you want to respond to that, Cynthia, and then Jan?
Yes, I definitely do agree with that. I can feel it too. There's definitely change in, just like I said, I saw the topic of autism and spirituality some 25 years ago. It was not a popular topic then. I wrote an endorsement or helped an author out who was struggling to get the book out, and it wasn't that well received. Now the telepathy tapes are here. It's the same thing, and it's going big time. So I can see it just in the way topics are grabbing hold. Also, the fact that I'm able to talk about these topics the way I am is amazing. 25 years ago, it was difficult to talk about a lot of the things we just discussed so far. And you might think, no, that can't be true. Yes, that is true. You can see it, definitely. I think you ladies both know.
Mm-hmm. And Jan, around you, do you feel people are elevating, or we're raising our vibration, or the world is?
Absolutely. I think that's part of the life cycle, is a constant evolution to your higher self, that we're all doing it. The planet is doing it herself, and we're going along for the ride. And, we can resist it or we can endorse it. I think also a very important thing that one of you mentioned, I think it was Cynthia Sue, this left brain, right brain, where we've taken the conversation to the right brain and taken out the woo-woo part of it. And so it's lost, that weird sense of being woo-woo. And what I always tell people is, I'm just teaching you how to be whole-brained. It's how you're supposed to be operating in the first place. And her bringing science into it and experiments is key. It is the key factor to help legitimize things that have been around shamanically since the beginning of time. But now we have people like Cynthia Sue that is actually doing the research and being involved in things that, it's a golden nugget in the world.
Recently, a friend sent me something. It showed that, it says people think we have 5 senses, but we've got 15 senses. And she showed, the different senses we have. So a lot of people just operate from the 3D. You're just physical being, and they don't take into account your spiritual, your, body, mind, and spirit.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think a lot of us who are on the path notice that there's a change in our experiencing of time as well. Mm-hmm. So as we move into balancing and getting more into our right brain, as well as the left brain that has got a little left heavy there for 400 years or so.
Left heavy, I like that, left heavy.
So a whole bunch of centuries, yeah.
Left heavy.
So we're sort of drooping to the left side, but we're pulling it back on center again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's amazing because we start recognizing that there's so much that we can recognize. In other words, you can have a question now and realize it was answered maybe years earlier. And when you make that connection, you've left linear time and you're accessing some of this multidimensionality that's our birthright and that we're evolving into at this time as well.
So we mentioned multi-dimensionalities. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So if you think about like a flat piece of paper, like Flatland, I have a picture in my book, Reality Shifts, Flatland, and then it shows a rose being, this is not a rose, this is a pen. But if
we can use our imagination.
So on Flatland, the people that live there are circles and squares and dots and lines. But if something that's three-dimensional goes through their plane of existence, they'll notice, like, what is this? First it's a dot, then it's a circle, or maybe a hexagon actually, and then suddenly it's got this weird blue thing, and then a blue circle, and then it vanishes. The circle gets smaller and smaller, and poof, it's gone. So I'm showing you that because something similar is happening to us in 3D land. So what we see with Flatland, it looks funny, like you can play hide and seek. They can be playing hide and seek, and we know where Mr. Circle is hiding because we're looking at the floor plan of the house and he's in the closet right there. I can see him, but we're cheating, right? Because we're in 3D. So this is how you can then extrapolate and say, okay, so if we're in 3D reality and we think we have privacy and we like, there's no telepathy going on, there's no way that could be happening. So we think that everything is, secret and private. Maybe it's not, and it definitely is not to anything at that higher level that can just look down and see, oh, look what's going on there. I can see everything. And that level, that degree of revelation that occurs naturally as you go up through levels of conscious agency, which is what we're doing right now collectively. We're going from 3D plus one dimension of time, 4 dimensions. To me, it anchors in the heart center, fourth chakra. I believe we're going into, it feels to me like we're going into the 5th. Everything we think, everything we say is going to start manifesting. So hopefully we're ready for that. Hopefully we mastered only wishing the best for all concerned, only asking questions we wish to live the answers to. Gosh, I hope we're ready. And I know that the universe it's got us and it's going to be supporting us. So those who are ready, yay, we get to move on up. And then if you're wondering, what about this Hopi prophecy rock with the 2 lines? Well, I think the other line are just people that are still working on it. They still need to work on that heart center before they're ready to really wish the best for everyone, and including themselves, and to really keep asking questions like, how good can it get for everyone, not just selfish.
I remember you saying that. Tell us your favorite line and tell us where you came from, because I love that.
Yeah, okay.
Your
So
favorite
this
line
is a question, right? It's an idea from physics. So there's a contemporary physicist to Albert Einstein, John Archibald Wheeler, and he loved to ask nature questions, and then he said nature always answers. And so that's brilliant. What the kind of questions I would typically hear people asking in California and the United States would be, oh no, look what just happened. What's next? Or they'd say, how bad can it get, And I worked in the corporate world. That was really a big mainstay of the way people talk. And so it occurs to me like, man, they've got this backwards. They don't know they're creating everything. All you need to do is flip that to how good can it get? And even if you're ironic and kind of darkly laughing and sort of very deeply skeptical, just the fact that you need to know how good can it get, you'll start pulling yourself by the bootstraps out of the muck and mud and into a much loftier place. And if all the questions that you ask are the ones that you truly, genuinely wish to live the answers to, and if you're capable of doing that waking and sleeping in all of your dreams, then you are most assuredly on the good path and everything's going great. So, and you're part of the team helping everyone because you're setting the example. It's not what we say, it's what we do. And people can feel this. They genuinely can feel it.
Yeah, I think we create our own reality, don't we, by our thoughts and our feelings? And do you want to address?
Yeah. Okay, this gets into the cool stuff with the reality shifts and the quantum jumps. It's so cool. Yeah, because it goes beyond steering a mouse on a screen. If you can steer a mouse on a screen, like they successfully showed everybody can do, that signed up to have a temporary lesion in their left medial frontal cortex, and that means all of us can do it. You don't have to be some magical practitioner. And you might say, but Cynthia, I don't want to have a brain lesion. No, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how can we get to a right brain without putting a lesion in our left?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can do things like what actually you heard Jan was saying, some things that shamans do in the training program. So they can do the chanting, the drumming, the sounds. Those are very established, ancient, successful practices. So those totally work. For myself, I distract my left brain. It loves puzzles. It loves to think it's doing something useful. So I'm playing fetch, like read this article, fetch, and then I'll work on doing a blind reading for a client, and my left brain's all thrilled, like, oh, I'm reading a science article.
So you're tricking you're tricking your left brain. You're tricking it.
Oh, I know it knows what I'm doing, but it should not be. The dog should not be driving the car. So we need to put. For 400 years, we've had our rational left brain steering everything, and we've been denigrating our intuitive right side, and it needs to flip around. People sometimes say women need to lead the world, but I think it's really the right brain. So it needs to be that intuitive side. And
are women more right brain than men? Is that what you're saying? No.
But there is some association. Some people think that women naturally haven't lost as much of the right brain thinking because the left brain, analytical, rational, tends to be conflated with masculinity. So in some Western societies, not all of them, but quite a few.
So, let's see, where do we go? You guys, like I said, I gotta help me. Jan, ask Jan a question.
Yeah, okay, we did tease the audience. We mentioned briefly that you had this amazing experience with a reality shift, and maybe there's also I want to ask two questions.
Go ahead, please.
There's something amazing that Jan does. The reason I first was reaching out to her is because she knows that it's possible for people to experience different realities, that there is such a thing as this kind of a duality of consciousness within oneself. So I know there's two questions. So if you could answer one or both of those, I'd love it.
Can you form it as a question for me, please?
So the first question would be, what was the nudge you got to notice that what you're experiencing is something like what I've been writing and talking about? And something did occur. Maybe you could briefly tell that story.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to hog a lot of your time because it is a longer story, but basically I've been doing, shamanic work for a long time, and I run a program outdoors for a week that normally has many people, 80 to 100 people at it, let's say. And since it's outdoors, I'm walking on a particular road all the time. And I was walking down this road, and there was these beautiful boulders there that I would always greet. I would always say, hello, grandmother and grandfather, because to me, they're the ancient bones of the earth, and they hold a lot of wisdom. So this one time, several years later, I'm walking down the road, and we come to the same bridge with a stream and the boulders aren't there. And I looked at my colleague and I said, where are the boulders? And they said, what boulders, Jan? And I said, the ones that I've been saying hello to for the last 5 years. There's no boulders here, Jan. And I knew right then. How do I know that? Just because I am used to being taught by spirits. I knew right then that I was being shown something about a parallel reality where in one reality, the boulders are there. The other reality, the boulders aren't there. So that was the beginning, that I knew that I was being taught something, and it extended on that same week. I have these people for a week that we had a lot of different experiences, but it was from there that I contacted Cynthia. Tell me what's going on.
And she answered you, right?
Yeah, and she did. And since that time, I have dedicated my life to this, and we call them markers now. And we have just tons of documented experiences of people that write in. Once you become aware and watch, you can very consciously and intentionally change the reality that you wish to be in. And to me, this is self-improvement on steroids.
Wow.
You get to keep picking a better version of yourself to be participating in life.
I like that.
And that's, it's all about help. It's all about helping people evolve and not be stuck, knowing that they're just not stuck with a particular reality that they're in. And so I have a lot to be thankful for Cynthia Sue and her teachings.
Can I add something? It wasn't a better version of myself, but one time I was driving on the freeway, and this was on California. We lived there for a short time on I-80. You might know where that is. And I was on my way to work, and all of a sudden my car wheel starts spinning. In my brain, I thought, well, I'm not going to die, but I'm going to get hit. There were no cars. This was like 10, 11 in the morning. There's usually 5 lanes of full traffic. The cars were gone. They were absolutely gone. I think I was taken to a parallel universe. And then my car stopped, and they were all coming towards me, so I was able to turn around and get off the road. But I feel like did I reality shift? Did I get into another universe? Something. I had guardian angels, right?
This is one of the most common things I've heard about that's also secret and taboo, apparently. When I've given talks locally in the Bay Area, actually, to scientific groups, then the thing I'm most approached by after the talk would be people saying something like what you just said to me, Pauline, and to us. Sometimes it's even more shocking. They said I was about to be hit by an 18-wheeler. We were in a tunnel. There was nowhere to go. They were coming right at me. And the next thing I know, we're on opposite sides of each other.
Oh my gosh.
And they're saying, or they'll say a car is coming right at me and then it vanished. So there are different variations of this, but they sound very much to me like what we observe in quantum physics. So it's like, aha, it does happen on the macroscopic scale. These things do happen. You can literally, like a quantum particle, jump literally to another reality. And that is what we too are capable of. It's not answering the angel thing. I think that definitely has a part to play in it too. Consciousness runs the show. Those who have consciousness are creating reality.
Maybe just wasn't my time too, because other things have happened to me where my life's been saved, but that was the most dramatic one. So I guess when it's your time, it is, and when it isn't, it isn't. Now, our topic was the science behind magical thinking. I don't know if we covered that, but we did talk about magic, didn't we?
We talked about the science of the recent experiment from Canada, that those who have their left temporal medial cortex shut down temporarily, they get restored natural abilities to have mind-matter interaction and move a cursor on the screen. I also talked about an experiment I participated in with an interferometer. So there was a little bit of science here, and we, as much as we can squeeze into one show.
Now, I'm very much into healing work, like energy healing, and so we talked about autism. Now, they say that children get autism from, poisons in their body. So how does that? If autism can it be good and bad? I mean, I'm confused here because autism I don't think is a positive thing. But then we were talking about these autistic children are more into the magical thinking, right? So I don't know how to. What do I want to say? I don't know how to satisfy myself to understand how could it be bad and good at the same time.
Okay, well, it's part of the show. The telepathy tapes feature autistic children who are often nonverbal. I haven't watched the entire program, but like I said, I've been familiar with this for 25 years, so I'm intimately familiar with that. I've also taught autistic children. I'm seeing a prevalence, an increasing percentage of the population is getting more and more severely autistic. So those don't usually come to classrooms where I would see them, but it's becoming problematic for parents, caregivers, and for the children who are not going to be able to care for themselves as they get older. So we know that there's a problem if they can't take care of themselves, they can't live on their own, they can't be independent. Therefore, we have a health issue. But the neurodivergent aspect is interesting because autistic people look like they have a profusion of neurons in their brain. They are much more sensitive than most people. They're getting a lot more information, and maybe that's not all a bad thing. So it becomes just like any other health issue. Some people can deal with certain things, like that's not a problem. But if you want full functionality to be athletic and for the Olympics, then something that you thought, one person's like, nah, we're going to worry about it. The Olympian says, I need to fix this. So at whatever level that you're working through life, then you determine what needs healing. And I think a lot of parents these days are noticing that the severity of some of the autism cases seem like they're off the hooks, and it's lots more than it was 30 years ago.
So we don't want to see that. I mean, even if, no, we don't want to see it. Okay, I just want to end with that. But we're going to end soon, so I'll give you both a chance to say final words.
Yeah, so the questions that we ask make the biggest difference. We are constantly creating our reality. Our imagination and our certainty does that. Practice gets good results. So you can start practicing today by practicing the science of asking nature a question that you'd like to live the answer to. Don't ask something stupid you don't want to experience, and then see what happens.
What question would you ask? How good
I
can
ask
it get?
how good can it get? Yes.
I knew that. And Jan? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot if you don't.
Sure. No, I think that one of the things that is important to me is that people trust life. They trust life and they trust a process of life. And if we're made of love, which I believe the universe is made of love, it's a quantum field of unconditional love. It's always got your back. And when you can get in alignment with that, it's like you can move through life more easily, as well as removing the resistance and the fear. And I just think it's, I just believe that life has got your, love has got your back, life has got your back, and we're in a process of discovery, and that makes it really fun.
You ladies are wonderful. Your blessings on this planet, and I'm so glad that I've got to know both of you. Just amazing people, and you did blow my mind because I followed most of what you said, but a lot of it, phew. I have to catch up with you two. You two are great, wonderful. I just love you both. You're wonderful people, and you're just blessings on the earth. And thank you so much for the interviews. I appreciate it so much. So I'll say goodbye now, and I'll just talk to the viewing audience next. Thank you, ladies, so much. God bless you both.
And you are a blessing too, Pauline. Thank you for bringing this to the people.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, now I want to talk to the viewing audience. Thank you for watching our show Parapsychology today. And we're always looking for topics and guests. So if you have any guests you want to recommend, or even if you want to be on the show, let us know. You know what we talk about. You've got an idea now. So just, we'll put up the credits at the end. It'll say Parapsychology Today 24@gmail.com. Please email us. And thank you for watching another edition of Parapsychology Today. And we want to thank MCM TV and the two guys that work here for helping us set this up. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Parapsychology
Out comes a new
Today,
scarf. And
a
I don't think,
program
I
of
think I'm gonna,
investigation
how
into
did
the
that
realm-
feel for you, Cynthia? Was it okay that I was on there, and, or did you feel like your sound is off?
I was slurping tea and turned it off. I love having you there, Jan.
Okay, okay.
Oh my gosh. If anything, I would have loved to ask more about